Good evening. My name is Madeline Day Delpha, and I am the Assistant Director, Programs and Community Engagement at the Rose Art Museum. I am delighted to welcome everyone to this evening's program with the innovative, illuminating artist Fred Wilson, in conversation with Dr. Gannit Ankori, the Henry and Lois Foster Director and Chief Curator of the Rose Art Museum. Fred Wilson has been represented at institutions and in biennials around the world, including the Whitney Museum of American Art, New York, the 50th Venice Biennale, and the Istanbul Biennial. His many accolades include a John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation Genius Grant in 1999. Born in the Bronx, he obtained a BFA from State University of New York at Purchase in 1976. Before establishing himself as a practicing artist, Wilson worked as a freelance educator at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, American Museum of Natural History, and the American Craft Museum, now Museum of Arts and Design, and also served as the first director of the Longwood Arts Project in the Bronx. His landmark 1992 exhibition, Mining the Museum, at the Maryland Historical Society revolutionized museum practice. It's a huge honor to have you here this evening. Fred and Gannit, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you, Maddie, for that introduction. And thank you, Fred, for being with us and for allowing us the great honor of showcasing a real survey, a wonderful survey of your art at the Rose Art Museum. And of course, thanks to everyone who is joining us tonight. So if it's okay, Fred, I'm going to start with our exhibition, Fred Wilson Reflections. And just to say that you and I have been in conversation since before COVID, then everything closed for COVID. And for the last 6 or so years, we've been thinking about the show and it morphed into what it is now. And I'm really thrilled by it. So, as I said, it's a survey of your work from the last 20 plus years. And we divided it into three sections. Part one is works that are associated with the Venice Biennale, Murano glass, Venice in general, but also Istanbul and the Ottoman Empire. The second part is a brand new installation, and I know that really excited you that we get to do this. And we'll talk about it in depth at the end of our conversation. It's a very, very large and compact and immersive installation. Also, materials collected over the last 20 years, and it's titled Black Now. And the third part is are the well-known flag paintings that we'll also discuss, and we decided to hang them almost like a mural in the Foster stairwell. So at night, they're actually seen from outside because they're lit. And they will stay on view after the rest of the exhibition is deinstalled on January 4th. So this is the time to say the exhibition is going to be up until January 4th. Please come see it in person. These are beautiful slides, but installation shots are not the same as the experience of the artwork. So I want to start with the very first part of the show where one enters our Foster wing, which has a 24-foot ceiling. It's 4,000 square foot large. I mean, it's really monumental. And within it, we hung works that are associated with Venice in monumental fashion. I know, how did you feel when you came in and saw it all?
Oh, it was just uh, almost overwhelming. It's very thrilling for me to see so many of these, almost all of them, in one place. And obviously when I'm working on these, coming up with the reason why I need to make another one, or the inspiration that stems from either the material itself or a line in Othello, particularly of the hanging things. And
Mhm.
so it's always, I'm always engaged with them on that level, just and thinking, well, what else can I do with this? I love the chandeliers of Venice, and I love Othello. So I'm it's it's always been a lot of I hate to say fun. That maybe makes it a little not
Fun
as
is good.
fun is good. I mean,
Fun is-
I have a great deal of fun making these things and twisting around my ideas and trying to see squeeze some other ideas about chandeliers and about Othello and just my interest with the both
Mhm.
the new
We'll
work.
about the specific chandeliers, the three that are hanging here, and about Othello. But before we go to that, I wanted to point out two photographs. Actually, this photograph and the other one is comprised of four photographs that together are one work. But this untitled work, here you see it in the show in relationship with the chandelier because there are chandeliers inside this photograph. And here I have it. You were very excited to see this because you said you hadn't seen it since it was shown in 2003 in Venice itself.
It's true, and it's always pleasing when you see something that you haven't seen for a long time, and it looks as good as you thought it looked, and it because you don't know if things change over time. But I'm very thrilled with that I was able to do this particular image. It's these characters are all over Venice, but this is one from one shop, and that had them all bunched together in the window, and it was just I mean, if you had missed them in doorways or other kind of locations, this one you cannot walk by and say you didn't see anything.
Right.
And yeah, so I'm thrilled that this work was actually made, and now it's able to be displayed
Mhm.
as much as I'd like to display, because in Venice there are these characters in doorways, and sometimes this is the ones with the chandelier on it. They have very particular functions and locations that they are able to be used, but this particular character is all over Venice, and in doorways and holding plates or holding things in servitude or holding these candelabras. And here they're all together, kind of talking to each other, I suppose.
Right.
But it's
So,
very important that, well, I just want to say one other thing. When this show came up and I had these three different or four different images, especially the two or three that were in the that are encased in something, not sitting out. But these characters were ubiquitous, and I haven't been around to sort of check it out, but if it's still the same, but they're ubiquitous. And when the show came up, some of them disappeared. People inside, they moved them out of view. I didn't tell anybody to move anything out of view, but I think what was so wonderful and interesting about that is that they, I guess, owners and others may have commented about them and probably never thought about them as anything but, you know, for lack of a better word, tchotchkes, and ancient historic replicas of a time that would not necessarily be completely pleasant for those characters in the image, and makes it, hopefully the whole project makes one think about the environments that these folks lived in, and what were their lives like. That's always something I think about, especially if being all the way in Venice and as far away from Africa as across the Mediterranean as you can get. So so I was glad to be able to have this many of them, even though their photograph is looking into a shop and I don't have all those objects.
Right. So I wanna say that one of the punctum of the photograph is the American Express card.
Hmm.
So you don't think that this is something ancient. It's
Right.
something from 2003.
Yes.
But also um, thinking about coming to Europe nowadays or in 2003, thinking about African refugees and African immigrants working there, doing things. You were interested in the presence, I would say the absent presence of African diasporic or Black or Moorish people that had been in Venice since at least the 17th century, if not before.
Yes.
And since the written documents are so, there's such a dearth of information, you looked at visual culture, starting from, Tintoretto and Titian and actual Venetian masters' artworks that have black gondoliers, and these blackamoor figures who are, as you said, they're ubiquitous. They're hiding in plain sight,
Yes.
and they always show the Moors or the blacks in subservient positions.
Mhm.
And it was something that was commonplace and matter of fact. And until you pointed it out, a lot of your art is about pointing out things that are there that people, or I would say, looking at the overlooked
Mhm.
or introducing things that had been invisibilized into our range of vision so that we start thinking about them. The next work that I want to say that you were also excited to see at the Rose because you hadn't seen it since 2003 are these four photographs that are taken from this tomb. Um, they're from the Basilica Santa Maria Gloriosa dei Frari in Venice. And these four atlas-like figures that we see here actually carry the tomb of a Doge, Doge Giovanni Pesaro. And this is a structure that is from the 17th century. So again, you did something that for me was eye-opening because I had spent a lot of time in that in the Frari,
Mhm.
in that church, but I had never noticed these characters kind of carrying the burden. And you photograph them from an angle that completely humanizes them and shows us something that we did not see before.
Mhm.
So, and this also you made like um, banners from from two of these that introduced your Venice exhibition and with the title of Speak of Me as I Am, which is from Othello. So I wonder if you can talk about the process of finding these figures in the Frari, photographing them from these angles, and then making them even bigger than they are in real life, and connecting them as like the entryway to your exhibition.
Mhm. Yes, I was, thrilled, and also, I'm thrilled to have found them in plain sight, and I just oftentimes want to make things visible that potentially you could walk by because that's not perhaps why you were going to the church in the first place. But these are for men who probably did exist at that time. So um, I really enjoy sort of making you look at something that you may have missed, not particularly making great commentary. The things sometimes things speak for themselves once you've seen them, and then you can't forget them. Uh, I like the having the scrims in front of the pavilion because scrims are something that are everywhere in Venice. For when they're trying to uh, uh, fix or kind of make them clean them up because not I'm not specifically speaking about these because these are indoors, but all around Venice there's always this constant um, restoring of things, and so it's part of this. It's part of what it is in Venice, and so you can sort of almost not see it after a while. Just like there are a lot of little tiny brooches of black women uh, throughout, and black men too, or boys or whatever in the shops because this historic these are historic images uh, remade, and that but it's not a history lesson. It's not even connected to the history. They're there because they're so um, understood to be there and not think about them specifically. Just think about it. It's the character of Venice, and so not you're really not there to think about the humans behind this, behind the brooches and things.
Mhm.
So
So normalizing these figures that are always in subservient positions, they're always there's an emphasis on their blackness, whether it's Murano glass or here we have black marble contrasting with white marble, and all of that is just naturalized this part of the landscape.
exactly.
But without thinking, who is this person? Why are they tasked with lifting this heavy weight? Who were they? Where did they come from? What were their lives like? And that's what your exhibitions do. They raise all these important questions.
Yes.
And you connected it with the line from Othello where he says after everything goes south, after, he only asks for one thing. He says, "Speak of me as I am." So don't make me worse, don't make me better. Speak of me as I am. And you said that that is something that you connected with, that every human being wants, and especially Blacks who are often maligned or seen, as in caricatures or as grotesque.
Right. And there's no, you know, there's no, often, and then there's no explanation after that. You're left with what you see, and then you have, um, it's not meant to sort of to go any deeper. It's not there for you to sort of say, why is that this way? And who were they? And all these kind of questions, and how many of these folks were there. And
Mm.
Venice is pretty interesting because you do have in several paintings in the academia images of black men. Apparently there was a group that were gondolieri uh, in Venice in the early period, and Carpaccio has a large one in the front of basically the very prominent in a painting in the church too. So besides these Ferrari here is also in the academia, these characters. And I just wanted to, it's I don't can't get into the heads of other people who were just seeing my project, seeing my show, but I was hoping that, when they left, they all of a sudden would have start thinking about these other topics that you're not there in Venice to really to see, unless you're an African person. But so that's always the hope, That's always, that there'll be an aha moment for others.
Yeah, I'm going the wrong way. I wanted to go back. Just sorry about that. I just wanted to say that when you go, even if you walk by, you don't see what you see in the photograph because they don't look us in the eye. They
Mm-hmm.
don't look at us. We
No.
don't see their gaze. And here you kind of reclaimed their gaze
Mm-hmm.
and their humanity in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But it also becomes, this one almost becomes grotesque as well. I'll
Mm-hmm.
talk about that almost like a stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
These are like they're humanized and they look at us, and that's very, very strong.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a great segue to talk about Othello. And of course, Shakespeare's 1603 Othello is the plot is in Venice. It is about Venice and it is about Othello. Do you want to start talking about that?
Yeah. I think many people have been obsessed with Othello in the past, and I just never could let go of him uh, because he's such an unusual character figure in literature, uh, and always has been, and it's just amazing that he just comes back to life every time you read him, and for me read about him in the play, and you sort of get you get a different read something slightly different about him in it, and depending if you're watching it on television or watching in a play setting, you're getting it someone's interpretation, and it's always kind of fascinating to see how people breathe life into him.
Mhm.
And so in my way, I enjoy working with glass and also trying in the same way, trying to breathe life into a character that is well known, but in theater and in literature, but I just want to, and of course, Shakespeare does an incredible job of making him human, and so it's always terrific to try to squeeze some other aspects of humanity out of him in an artwork, or try to put these ideas, embed them in the artwork uh, about his life and who he was and his trials and all that. I just completely always have been obsessed with trying to, I guess, squeeze Shakespeare, but also squeeze Othello as he is um, a very unusual character in the history of literature,
Mhm.
and uh, and to try to kind of let one see that in an object is was very exciting to me. The first one that I did, I think this is the first one that I did. Oh, well, maybe not. I don't know. It says no way but this, but there might be others. But at any rate, what can I say? I continue to be enthralled with this subject and try to make other kind of find other ways to make him visible, or at least you stop and think, what has this got to do with Othello
Mm,
or the character? And so that's kind of how I get consumed with him. And then the scale of these works are just because that's the scale of this period of chandelier making, uh, is a great is a great opening for me to try to give other kind of aspects of try to pull out other things about that I see in the character of Othello.
right,
And
right.
that's kind of I always think well, maybe I've done it all, but I come back to it, and I just rethink it and have other ideas about it.
Right. So using Murano glass and this kind of iconic chandelier places us in Venice, but then you always subvert the traditional chandelier
Mhm.
here by making it black, first of all, but then having all these kind of grotesque elements and these bulbs with red
Mhm.
light within them. So it's both beautiful and a little grotesque. And you
Mhm.
were talking about it as a kind of portrait, if you will, of Othello,
Mhm.
both strong, beautiful, charismatic black man,
Mhm.
but then very human
Yes.
and is able to or is susceptible to Iago's manipulations
Yes.
and becomes very jealous of his wife, Desdemona, thinking falsely that she betrayed him. And then he says in the last scene, I kissed thee before I killed thee, no way but this, killing myself to die upon a kiss. So this kind of inevitability or fate, but also linking love and death and fate and tragedy, uh, all in this glorious, beautiful piece. You also said something very interesting to me about beauty, that you really appreciate beauty, but sometimes it covers up things.
Yes. Yes. And so it's in a way, if I can reveal just that fact, that is and make it a human issue, which it is. Uh, it's very, you know, it's what I try to achieve as well. I mean, I'm not thinking it specifically, but I am trying to get the emotions that I have with about these characters and their where they are in their lives at that moment, trying to throw that throw that into the particular moment of the chandelier, and and keep squeezing the orange or whatever it is, squeezing the idea for other ways to come at it, and what else there is in this work that brings me back to it and brings me back to Othello. So it's yeah, and then there's others that have a different effect. And this one title, Dramatis Personae, if I'm pronouncing it correctly,
Dramatis personae.
Personae.
Yeah.
Uh, it has a different feel to it. It's lighter. Looks more delicate, but it's just no more delicate than the other one. Uh, and um, and it's a you know it's about another moment, and but also a lot of these works are intriguing to me because it's about a kind of a tragedy, but they're also beautiful, and it's kind of this dichotomy makes at least me stare at them more, think about them more, think about, well, am I correct in what I feel is within this work, or is this, and how do other people see it? And the titles try to at least bring into the work what I'm feeling about it, what I'm thinking about it. This is a beautiful object, but also has, uh, well, they all have great um, sadness within them, as
Mhm.
beautiful as they are.
So the white ones, you have said before that they are affiliated with Desdemona. And of course, part of the plot
Mm.
that's, Shakespeare is very good about talking about the blackness of Othello, the whiteness,
Yes,
and black
Desdemona.
and white, and the interracial marriage is all part of the plot there. And I think we see hints of that in this chandelier that's mainly either transparent or white, but has these black dots that are both decorative and perhaps disruptive. But I think in general, glass, that ambiguity that you're always drawn to and that you express so well, everything is, glass is fragile, but these works are also very powerful and strong. And we have that kind of duality for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yes.
And the
Ah,
one that's both behind me and on the screen, Eclipse, I have to say it's one of my favorites because it moves from Shakespeare, or it adds upon Shakespeare, because of course Othello was a general in the Venetian army and he did fight the Ottomans.
mhm.
But this is more historical about the Venetian Empire and the Ottoman Empire and their constant collaboration, cultural affinities, but also the constant warfare,
Yes.
which is also pitting Christianity and Europe against Islam and Asia and North Africa. So why don't you first describe how you made this? And I think after the Istanbul Biennale, that was a chance for you to really explore.
Yeah. Well, there are in Istanbul. There's a shop that has chandeliers in it, and it was, you know, so there was something that I had was looking for that nexus between the two in any form in in Istanbul, to see that if I could draw out um, the storyline with the mood of it, because there's a very different forms, and still used in Istanbul and other places, and it's I don't sometimes I'm sort of, the idea of eclipse is hopefully kind of pungent, in if you're thinking about both these huge storylines, these the
Mhm.
and so it was great. The moment I walked by a shop that uh, had these lamps, well, not exactly this one, but lamps like this, I knew that the color and the shape of them and the size of them would give another direction, another idea about the encounter between the two countries.
Right.
And
And what people can't see is that within the, or surrounded, engulfed, eclipsed by these lanterns, these Ottoman lanterns, you have a Venetian Murano chandelier.
Hmm.
So you have both of them intertwined in a way.
Yes, yes, like those the war years, different people, different at different moments. Uh, one country would be on top, and the other country would not, and so, however, this dance that they're doing is not really a dance. It's this combination. Uh, I was hoping that one might consider this relationship that and the knowing of each other
Mm.
in this particular one, and just really noticing the difference between the two, and having giving one another way to look at both these societies.
Right, right. And I just want to say a little shout out to Pace Gallery and Justin, the
Mhm.
incredible installer who helped us install these very intricate, very, very large and beautiful and incre just wonderful chandeliers. So I just have to say that here. And I I also wanted to note that one of the things that you said was that this conflict and relationship and intertwiningness between Christianity and Islam, between Europe and North Africa and the Middle East, and etc. These kinds of this kind of, you called it a dance, but this kind of eclipses are still ongoing.
Mm. Very
So
true.
that
Very
is,
true.
yeah. So that is also, it becomes, you see it, it's beautiful. You think of the history, but then it's still pertinent.
Hmm.
So I want to go back for us to see how all of this really occupies the entire space. And the other two elements are the mirrors and the drips that we'll talk about very briefly. Here is the exeunt omnes, which is the last stage directions for exit everyone. And here, these beautiful decorative mirrors are both, you're both using the style of Murano mirrors, but also undermining it by doing it in blackness. So instead of seeing things, what you have is a blank, empty stage.
Hmm. Exactly. Exit illness. And yeah, then there's this one.
This is Iago's mirror. You
Yes.
guys, sadly, you can't see how large it is.
All right.
And installing this was, again, kudos to Rachel, Dorian, and Justin, who and all our art handlers. So many people had to lift this up and put it up on the wall. Iago's mirror, so beautiful, but underneath the beauty is a lot of envy and something sinister, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And but also it's um, it's complex. It's like it's not. It's you can bring to it what you need to, but it's also uh, the aspect of the layering kind of, to my mind, also makes you at least think a bit about conflict, and um, and how beauty can cover up, a lot of sadness, a lot of uh, problems, and but here it's neither the beginning nor the end of a conflict. but it also is. So, is it beautiful? Yes.
Yeah.
Is it problematic as far as what you can do with it? I mean, as far as it's not completely a mirror.
No.
It has its own life force in a way.
Right. Right. It doesn't reflect.
Right.
It kind of reflects fractured and shadowy images.
Mhm.
And if you think of the metaphoric mirror that reflects truth, here it just complicates it, as you said. It complicates it very much.
Yeah.
And then we have a smaller mirror. I'm sorry that on the here they look the same size, but they're not. And
Yeah.
this one is called Mark.
Much smaller.
Moving to the drips and the way that they're installed, this one, whether or not, again, this kind of ambiguity, and this one that is part of the Rose collection, the beginning of the end, and then this one, My Father's Path. There are sight lines where you can see all of them together.
Mm.
And do you want to start about, you actually started using glass a little before Venice, even.
That's right. Right. I was invited to Pilchuck, the glass school in Seattle, and I'm like, well, I don't know, what am I going to do with glass? Uh, I'm just going to go and try it out, think about it. Maybe I really didn't have a clue as to how much I would get involved with glass. Uh, and because in the end, it was so shocking to me in a way because the form of glass seems to emote different moods, different ideas, different feelings by just the flip of a tail of one of these things. It changes the meaning, and of course, the relationship between them, the distance between them, can be can start to tell a story. And here we have the beginning of the end. Um, it's because it implies movement in these forms, which they're not moving at all, but because it's these tails, and depending on how you apply them to the wall or what have you, you can manipulate the meaning or manipulate the feeling that you get from it. And so that's and then of course it relates to weather and other aspects of what can I say, the materiality of it kind of brings you in a different direction depending on how I how I put them together. And this one, it's very difficult to see, but yeah, you can see the figure at the bottom. That's actually an Aquaba doll, a cast Aquaba doll, which is in Ghana a doll that girls have. And they put it in they hold it in their clothing, and but that whole story is not necessarily in this work, although as I think about it, why not? Um, and so again, trying to manipulate the material so that even though it's the same material, sometimes the same forms, it gives you a different connection to it,
Mhm.
different way to think about it. The Aquaba doll is at the bottom, and all these drips are coming down right above it. Is this in the path of my father? And now at this point, I don't remember what that quote is. It probably is from Othello. Uh, However, it may not be. It may just be how I was feeling about the relation between the figure, which is hard to see. It's a doll shape
Yeah.
in Ghana, and uh, and these drips that could obliterate it if they continued
Mm.
falling, or not.
Right. And you also mentioned that the black drips look like oil, look like ink. look like black tears.
Yeah.
Also, the quality of the glass, that it's fragile, but it's solid. It looks wet or liquid, but it isn't. So the idea of ambivalence, the idea of whether or not, no way, but this kind of
Yes.
things, beginning of the end, the kind of contradictions that you're uh, run through a lot of your work and
Mm-hmm.
titles are embedded within this kind of material.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to move very briefly to this part of the exhibition where we're very happy to have this stairwell where we could uh, place the flag paintings that you've been creating for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
These are flags of African and African diaspora countries, but all the color has been kind of removed from them. And do you remember like what you were thinking about the removal of color?
Well, just like you know, using the color black in the glass kind of gives it a certain direction I can go. It sort of manipulates it so that, I'm not going to do it for them, so that they don't are not animated in a certain way. And the same with this. This is by taking out the color, it just focuses on the shape and form and the images that are in those flags to begin with. And so you can think about what these things represent, the objects that are in these paintings now, flags now paintings, um, or not. You can just what I liked about it is that I could manipulate them, not the image, but the arrangement, and see what I can squeeze out of that. And their relationships are not geographic, even though they are from countries that many of them are near each other or not or in the same continent at least. And um, and so that's I like the kind of the simplicity of even though some of them have complex images within them, but I like the simplicity of taking out the color and sort of removing perhaps some of the cultural reasons for creating these flags, and makes you have to think about, well, what is this telling me about uh, this is a flag, or is it something else?
Mm.
And
Yeah, so taking out the color and focusing on black and white, which is also the color scheme of the first room that we saw.
mhm,
Um, it almost makes these kind of abstract paintings
mhm,
without meaning. And then when we realize they're flags and we try to identify them, because it kind of defamiliarizes the flags
mhm,
when they're bereft of
right,
the colors. As a counterpoint, you do have this large flag with the Pan-African colors,
mhm,
uh, kind of alluding to the fact that all these now colorless, or black and white are also colors, but all these black and white flags are actually related to Africa and the diaspora. And what does it mean that they have been, um, that the color or the cultures or the specificity has been removed? So that becomes really interesting, and showing it like a mural, I think, plays with oh yeah, these are flags, but oh, this could just be a beautiful mural
mhm,
that's abstract, black and white.
mhm,
And again, it plays with the way we see, the way we perceive, and the way we understand.
mhm.
So I'm going back a little bit because we skipped over this, the meta of the muse, this very important work that we have in the show. For me, again, the black and white color scheme, but also it points to your very first way of making art, which is using curatorial techniques, I would say. Um, so can you talk about how you found these are two found uh, reproductions of um, obviously European, obviously Egyptian sculptures, and tell us what you did with them and um, how you made meaning.
I, I like comparing and contrasting things, um, and even as simple as the two figures are, they do emote a relationship or a lack of one, and you know uh, it's it's kind of how you see it, and one, the Egyptian one, has a certain stance as opposed to the other, which is very uh, self-absorbed, uh, and so I just like the way the contrast between them and the space between them was very specific because for me, it amplified their difference without um, either one getting in the way of the other, or not. If too close, and you would probably lose what their individuality is.
Mm,
Too far apart, the same thing would happen. And I
right,
wanted you to be able to focus on their own issues, let's put it that way, or
right,
their own personality. Um, uh, I don't know if it's reflected in the cultures that they're from, or it's just their their attitudes.
right,
And
right.
so for me,
Yeah.
that was it.
So this idea we saw in Mining the Museum, where you had, let's say, metalwork, a beautiful silver teapot with slave shackles,
Mhm,
metalwork,
mhm,
or the whipping post, woodwork, the whipping post and a beautiful upholstered chair. And here you have also this concept of compare and contrast,
mhm,
juxtaposed, put in close proximity so that the meaning is constituted by you through
mhm,
this juxtaposition. And I wanted to use this as a segue to the last portion, or actually, it's the central portion of our exhibition of Fred Wilson of Reflections. And this is an installation called Black Now. And it is in many ways the complete opposite of what we saw in the first part, the first third of the show. Uh, it is very claustrophobic and it is full of objects that you chose over the last 20 years
mhm,
that you decided how to juxtapose them, how to put them in proximity or not, group them, and they constitute meaning. So let's start talking about Black now. I mean, this is the first time that the full collection of over 2,500 objects have been curated by you, installed by you. And again, we had a lot of discussions about how to display, because how to display and is a long is part of what constitutes the meaning.
mhm.
So let's start here, and we have several slides that we can go through
Okay.
and discuss in the next 5 to 6 minutes.
Yeah. Well, this was another project that I was nursing along for many years, and it just grew and grew and grew, and again, I'm very much interested in juxtaposition and things that are and how things shift slightly in meaning, perhaps in a juxtaposition, than if they were just with like things. And so I just it also brought to mind just the excess of things in the world, and if you just focus on one particular aspect of it, you are surprised that that there's so much to see and so much to not known about, and but the whole subject of blackness kind of melds into this project. It's the reason that I did it, and I don't know how much I can say about that, except that this does represent a particular time period of my collecting things for this project, and the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I like the fact that it brings out different things for different people, or at least it's the subject is elusive, but it's everything does hold together because I have created a reason for them to come together.
Mm, yeah. So just very basically, since 2005, you began to collect random or not random, whatever caught your eye that was either the color black or had the word black or somehow related to blackness, not necessarily to race or
Right.
anything like that. So we've seen books and we see objects and we see deodorant and liquor and um, magazines and posters. And I love this one, this Black nativity and political materials, lots of books. Can you talk maybe about what we see here?
I you know I you know I it became I got used to it, but really it became shocking what you can if you have a finite arena that you're thinking about, finite subject, but within the subject or within the it's basically the subject. Um, this huge amount of difference, and and so and the amount of things that finding it was just astounding to me. Everything from these Obama masks and to the wax slave female slave sculpture that now sells in perfume stores is where I got it in Rome. But it's a cast of a French artist's work from the I think he must have made this 100 years ago, or I'm not quite sure. This character right here in the center, the female character, I did really want that, and I just tried to just look at expand it out as far as I could around the subject, not meaning that all of it means the same thing, but that it's something that I wanted to emphasize, as a so-called black person, the the variety and the combination and the happenstance of the color black within the world. I mean, I happen been everywhere in the world. I've only have a really small amount of things that come from far afield around the world, but it was still within that. I captured a lot of directions within it that were. I didn't want to use anything that was a negative, uh, vastly negative image of related to blackness. It just wasn't what I was looking for or thinking about, but just the ubiquity of the color and how it is used and how it is mostly used in a positive way as because I'm collecting it, I suppose, and maybe that's the reason. But I just wanted to emphasize the difference and the variety and the ubiquity of this color, whether we know it or not, whether we like it or not. It's there, and I think it was pretty cogent. It just happenstance. Uh, it's a cogent thing for this for the times now. I think
Mhm.
to sort of look at it and think about it.
Well, this is kind of negative.
Well, yeah, there's negativity in there, uh,
Yeah,
uh, but
but also things that are not necessarily related to anything racial, as you said. Um, and what you see here is how the drips
let's
and
see the
some of the first part of the exhibition come in through the sight lines and they come together. So I'm going to go all the way to the beginning of the of the PowerPoint and just say that the first part with your beautiful, masterful, just gorgeous and thoughtful and layered Shakespearean, Venetian um, artworks with the vast amount of space and spatialness that people come in and the wow on their that they mouth just resonates. And then this kind of everyday objects like quotidian, utilitarian, uh, non-art objects that you put together as an installation that produce meaning or meanings that happen in the place of interaction between whoever is walking around the objects and the objects themselves. And then these different paintings, really, we see painting, sculpture, glassworks, conceptual pieces. All of it is part of your elaborate and rich practice. But they all have a theme, and that is a kind of deep interrogation of Blackness and the human condition, I would say, across time, space, cultures.
yeah, I would heartily agree, and I appreciate that comment.
Yeah. So thank you, Fred, so much for joining us today. Thank you to Maddie and Manin for facilitating our conversation. And I think I want to end with this one. That's a beautiful and typical view of the wonderful survey that you have at the Rose Art Museum, and that will be up until January 4th. Thank you.
Thank you, Gannit.